All right, hey, good morning, everybody. Yes, another Wednesday, working through routines. So just had enough time to stick around, film the video for everybody else as I go back and pick up Sleeping Beauty and head off to Dubuque today, wrapping up, I think it was like 18 weeks of college visits since May. So this is the end of it, and we're praying for wisdom for her so she can make a decision as we get closer. But I wanted to come and just make sure I could speak about healthy routines in another way. We've had 2 weeks to talk about obstacles and the things that get in the way, and spending this week and next week talking about the things that make them work. So, writing on Monday about, like we've talked here, about like physical parts of your routine, right? Coming to the gym, working 3 days a week, 45 minutes really is a good recommendation to be able to have at a minimum. We talked about sleep at the beginning of the month of that 7 to 9 hours. And I didn't want to miss the other parts of who people are, the mental, the emotional, the relational, and the spiritual. Just trying to give some direction, really specifically just trying to recommend 2 hours in each of those areas. And the reasons are clear to me that if you can spend at least 2 hours a week mentally looking to reduce your stress, then your mental health proportionally goes up, since that's the biggest culprit to rob people of mental health stability, is that stress level. Secondly, though, is also recognizing you have to grow in your emotional awareness. So to be able to take a couple hours each week and understand how your emotions affect your decisions and your interactions with others, gave 3 or 4 different areas to focus on emotional awareness. But then you can't miss out on the relational part of saying if people closest to you are important and you're not spending a couple hours a week at least deepening those relationships, then the drift that comes in the busyness of life will occur and relationships will begin to stagnate, slow down, and be disappointing. And then, of course, finishing with the spiritual part of who people are, saying whatever your belief system is, faith system, you should have something you can depend on that makes the good times better and explains how to do that. But inversely, it should be able to help you through the bad times and be able to help you cope and determine and answer questions in the really difficult times. So make sure your routine includes all of these accumulating aspects of your routine so you don't forget something. And if you notice it, the encouragement this week was to take an hour in one of those areas. If you reflect through the rest of the day or this week and like, I don't really spend enough time working on this area of my life, don't just add 15 minutes. My suggestion is to add an hour to one of those areas that's struggling so you can start to really anchor your routine in all of those areas. Talking this morning specifically about that, because many people think, well, I'll just do multiple things at once and it'll get taken care of. Maybe we procrastinate or we do something. So, this morning I'm going to pop that bubble of multitasking and give you some suggestions of how to avoid that. Came across a nice article that addressed this topic, and here's what they had to say. Research suggests that multitasking affects productivity by reducing comprehension, attention, and performance. Reducing performance. Second, in moments where we think we're multitasking, it's likely we're just switching quickly from task to task, which creates a task switch cost because of the increased mental demand associated jumping back and forth. So it has ability to slow people down. Some research also suggests multitaskers are more distractible and they have more trouble focusing their attention. Kind of their point is the brain has limited resources. If you divide it and spread it out too thin, how effective are you? And maybe people see this from the outside when they watch someone trying to juggle too many things, and the quality suffers and a lot of things happen. So here are some suggestions. They recommend the 20-minute rule. Instead of constantly switching between tasks, try to fully devote your attention to one for 20 minutes and then rotate to another one. And if that one is too challenging, they would say batch your tasks. So clump them together. If you're having trouble resisting the urge to check your email or engage in another distracting task, schedule a time in your day to tackle it. When you batch similar tasks together and set a time to handle them, you free your mind up to focus on other things, which I thought would just bring us to a really great question of like, where do you fall on the spectrum? Are you a single focus person or are you a multitasker? And where do you guys fall, right? Who's the multitasker who likes to do multiple things? Okay. All the moms are raising their hands, right? And women, men, I'm like single focus. Multitasking. Okay. So everybody wins. I'm not trying to bash that aspect because everybody knows you have to multitask. But I guess it's more of this article saying don't default in that way, or recognize if you step out of that when you're able to do so, maybe there's some relief that comes, giving some mental fatigue, right? If you've been multitasking for 6 or 7 hours, how exhausted are you? Those brain resources that come into play. So maybe your response is going to be critical, which led to the second question. What helps you regain your focus when you get distracted for you guys? Whether you are a single focused person and get distracted, you're a multitasker and you get distracted, what helps you get your momentum back when something interrupted your flow?
Get up and go for a walk and come back and focus.
Little break, intentional physical activity break. It's good. Others? Interrupted by whatever, exhausted, need to step away. They recommend the 20-minute rule. What else do you guys do?
Try to schedule it. Like when I don't have interruptions, I will reduce the interruptions. Close my email, put time on my calendar for I'm gonna do this for this half hour, this for this half hour.
Yeah.
I do hard stuff in the morning.
Sure. Blocking it off, controlling a schedule. Certainly, I love those ideas. As we talked about scheduling unscheduled time in your routine as we set it up this month, where you don't have aspects of things to do every single moment. It gives you margin to be able to recover or do these things or just recognize it. To answer my own question, I would say have some version of feedback or ability to identify when that multitasking is causing you to not feel like yourself. Maybe it is a feedback, maybe it's just an intentional thing to look around and just notice that I don't like how I feel internally, or I'm too sharp on what's going on, or I'm overreacting to some things. Be able to have some of these checks. So some final comments about why healthy routines really do need to have these dedicated time parts to it. And again, if you add it all up, the 5 areas I've talked about only add up to 10 hours, right? So it's very, very simple to see. It's only 5% of your time, am I saying, dedicate to these areas. You still have 158 more hours to sort out your schedule with. But my theory is if you don't have these 10 hours, there's going to be a problem in the effectiveness of your routine. Certainly, I think that if you multitask on some of these areas, don't dedicate them, they're going to catch up with you. And to some degree, I have a job because people take shortcuts in how they're trying to take care of themselves, whether it's mentally, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. Each one of these areas cause some problems, even physical, right? Physical distress. They're not as active. Their mood starts to follow that inactivity, and then they start to get overwhelmed, and it's easy to see how they can be on a pathway for wanting some more help. So please don't try and multitask these big areas. Instead, make sure you've got some real chunk of time to do that. Mentioning about the self-checks, right? Can you pay attention to yourself enough? This is part of that emotional awareness piece. Can you sense what's happening internally with your own emotions and how you're presenting? And if you notice that, make sure you have a change you're able to make. If you identify it, please follow through on it. We like to use the word actionable, right? You have an idea that can't be implemented isn't as good as one that can be implemented. So if you think of that yourself, please move on it as quickly as you can, or if you get that feedback from somebody else. And finally, just echoing this idea that back to mental health and stress. Certainly there's lots of reasons that affect mental health, but I think stress is the biggest piece of the pie. So if you're focusing on working out a lot and you're focusing on trying to get the right amount of sleep, but you ignore what is the stressor that's coming into play. Again, I know I'm talking to people in a gym, and coming to exercise is a good escape. It's a good relief for working on stress. But is that just keeping you in a cycle of getting stressed, working out, and reducing it? Getting stressed, working out, and reducing it, not trying to find out what is that stressor that might be unhealthy, might be accumulating, that you can figure out something to do. So it's just a good week to say, get these foundational aspects in your routine. Whatever you do with the other 158 hours, go for it and apply it, because I would say you have a foundation to build from. 1 week left in this flow. On another Wednesday, we'll talk about how to make that routine your own, kind of without any apologies, and enjoy that. Maybe highlight some interesting routines that people have, just to recognize there's a lot of subjectivity to this. And the more the routine is yours, the better it is to follow versus trying to mirror somebody else's as you go forward. So good to see everybody. Make sure you've got these 10 hours dedicated in your routine, and be thinking about that this week. So I hope you have a great week. I'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you.